One of the most gripping aspects of the indictment is the tale of how one of Trump's own attorneys deftly avoided being recruited into a criminal conspiracy. On June 2nd, 2022, Trump attorney Evan Corcoran goes to Mar-a-Lago to review these boxes. And he goes there, and he's the one who's going to search the storage room, find the classified documents, turn them over to the government. Now, what's happened in the intervening 2 weeks since the subpoena is that Walt Nauta and Trump have gotten rid of the bunch of boxes. Corcoran goes in, passes through, he finds 38 classified documents. He puts them in a folder. He binds them with clear duct tape. Yeah. He goes into Mar-a-Lago to meet with Donald Trump, who says, innocently, I'm sure, "Did you find anything? Is it bad? Good?"
Unbelievable.
Okay. Corcoran, they talk about what to do with the folder. And I'll read from the indictment here. Trump Attorney 1 then discussed what to do with the red-welled folder. This is the folder that has the classified documents, containing documents with classification markings, and whether Trump Attorney 1 should bring them to his hotel room, put them in a safe there. During that conversation, Trump made a plucking motion, as memorialized by Trump Attorney 1. He made a funny motion as though, well, okay, why don't you take them with you to your hotel room? And if there's anything really bad in there, like, pluck it out. That was the motion he made. He didn't say that. So this is what happens. And this is the best part. And Alex, I want to get your reaction to this.
Yeah.
Corcoran knows that this is not on the level.
Yeah.
And yet Corcoran is the lawyer who has to turn to the FBI and certify it's on the level.
Yeah.
So what Evan Corcoran does, which is pretty smart, Trump Attorney 1 contacted another Trump attorney, Trump Attorney 3, and asked her if she would come to the Mar-a-Lago Club the next morning to act as custodian of records and sign a certification regarding the search for documents with classification markings in response to the May 11th subpoena. Trump Attorney 3, with no role in the review, agreed.
I wrote in the margins there, Christina Bobb thrown under bus. That is what happened there. Although she's shielded herself from legal liability quite skillfully, that Christina Bobb. But the story of the way in which Trump lied to his lawyers, put them in harm's way, expected that they would do his dirty work is stunning. And it bears mentioning, because there's been so much news today, the two lawyers, John Rowley and Jim Trusty, who were handling all of this, resigned this morning. That leaves Trump.
Well, can I just, on the question of resign, in Trump world, resign, fired, that
same thing.
They're gone.
They're gone. Tim Parlatore is on CNN all the time and MSNBC talking about this case. Lindsay Halligan is left on the team. She has very little experience on this level at all. And Todd Blanche is also representing Boris Epshteyn. Evan Corcoran, who is the source of so much of this just damning material, is still representing Trump in the January 6th.
And Lawrence, this is what you get here from the Corcoran is doing memos to file. It's the James Comey thing, right? Comey, these are a lawyerly tactic. You have a conversation with Donald Trump. You immediately go to contemporaneous notes because it's like handling fissile material. It is so dangerous to be around this guy that you need to protect yourself. This is your client. Protect yourself with these contemporaneous notes.
You were amused as you were describing this situation and the boxes moving around and Evan Corcoran, and it is kind of funny, and that continues the tone. On HBO's latest version of Watergate, which is White House Plumbers, where Woody Harrelson and Paul Theroux playing Gordon Liddy, and Woody Harrelson playing E. Howard Hunt, they're playing it for the comedy, because at this point they can look back at that and say, look at how crazy and silly. They tried to break in 3 times before, and things I didn't know that are goofy and silly. At the time, in the present tense, none of that was regarded as goofy or silly for 1 second. It was dead serious. This thing already plays as goofy and silly, when you just see it laid out here, but also clearly very, very dangerous.
And incredibly damning. And Rachel, the part of this that is different, and Ari made this point earlier and others have, is the Corcoran piercing the attorney-client privilege. Because you tried very hard to recruit your lawyer into criminal conspiracy, which, again, he managed to dodge, provides a window into activity and conversations that happens in maybe not 1 out of 1,000 criminal trials. You don't get the client talking to the lawyer.
Yeah, and when there's all these quotations in the indictment where Trump is saying, what if as you mentioned earlier, wouldn't it be better if these documents weren't there at all? Do we have to hand these things over? Why should those are the kinds of questions that you can ask your lawyer, right? Between you and your lawyer, you can ask all sorts of dumb and incriminating sounding questions. It's just between you and your lawyer. The only reason that you should ever have those things made public beyond the relationship between you and your lawyer is if you try to engage your lawyer in the commission of a crime. So don't do that. And so it really is, it's a bad thing for us to have a window into, but we have a window into it for a very specific reason. Yeah. But let me I do have one admittedly dumb question here, and maybe Andrew Weissmann is best placed to answer this. I thought it was surprising that when we got the indictment unsealed and when we learned that Trump was indicted, also his lawyers resigned. Is there anything about this indictment that says why two of his lawyers had to resign? Was it an obvious consequence of this indictment? What did you make of the fact that that those things happened in coincident?
I thought, I didn't think that it was about the substance of the charges. I thought there were two possible explanations. One explanation is that when you are handling the investigation and you have a client who's hoping not to get indicted, when the indictment comes in, the client says, thank you so much, you didn't accomplish what, the client blames the lawyers, even though, of course, usually the problem is the client, not the lawyers, because it's what they did that's leading this. So that's one possibility. They're just, he's just honestly upset that they didn't do their job when they, in fact, could have. The second is that once you file a notice of appearance, once you as a lawyer appear in a criminal case, not just in the investigation, but you actually say, I am representing Donald Trump in a criminal case, you cannot withdraw without court permission. And a lot of times judges will say, you're in. So what do people do? They do something which I referred to when I was a baby prosecutor, and someone said, the defense lawyer was like, well, I'm not yet in the case. And I was like, well, why not? And he said, I'm waiting for Mr. Green. And I didn't know what that meant. And Mr. Green is a reference to money. And it's just sort of a euphemism that certainly was used in Brooklyn all the time. And so here you can imagine the two defense lawyers saying, look, if I'm going to stay in the case and I'm going to file a notice of appearance, there's a certain amount of money that needs to be paid now if I'm going to be stuck representing you for what could be a lengthy, as you noted, a lengthy period of time.
And Trump is known not to pay his lawyers.
He very much is, although he keeps finding them. Coming up.